Hello everyone and welcome to another most interesting game from the Sunway Sitges tournament. It's Awonder Liang versus Anton Korobov. We already seen one game where Liang defeated Vasily Ivanchuk in round 8. This is a game from round 9. Now he faces the leader of the tournament, Anton Korobov, who drew his game against Chucky, I don't know, I haven't seen obviously all the games, but this one is just insane. So I do hope you enjoy it. Now, without further ado, let's check it out. Liang with the white pieces opens with e4. We have c5. Korobov goes for the Sicilian defense, but knight to c3 now. Liang opts for the closed Sicilian. We have d6 and bishop to b5 check. Knight d7, Korobov blocks, and now a4. We have knight to f6 and now a6. First f4, a6, pushing the bishop back, bishop to c4, and now e6. And here we already have a position that has only been reached once, where d3 was played, where queen to e2 was played, but here d3 is played, and it is already as of move 7 that we have a completely new game. So let's see how it continues. Korobov goes for bishop to e7. I know you think maybe Korobov's profile photo here is a bit weird, but it's a new photo of him by Leonard Otis, so I do hope you enjoy it. And he really has big hair, so it's really hard to find one where you can fit his hair inside of the profile photo, and here he's like this, so it nicely fits. All the other photos, if you find any new, like from 2019, they just don't fit. He has like massive hair. But okay, bishop to e7, we have knight to f3, and we have castles by Korobov. Liang also castles, and b6, now preparing to fianchetto the light square bishop. Queen to e1, now the queen can come to g3, the dark square bishop can be perhaps fianchettoed, b3 bishop here, so the bishop pair will be nicely pointing at the black king. Bishop to b7, and now bishop back to b3. Just a safer square for the bishop. Also, if d5 comes, it will not come with a tempo on the bishop, so you can just advance with e5 if you want to keep the center closed. We have rook to c8, and now e5. Asking black, what do you want to do here? Do you want to play d captures and allow me to semi-open my f file? So knight to e8 by Korobov, and now bishop to d2. So probably the knight will move, and then the bishop can come to c3 to be used as an attack against the black king. We have g6. Black might have some ideas of remaneuvering the knight g7, perhaps to f5, but also it serves as additional protection from white pushing f5. But incredibly, this is exactly what Liang does, and we've reached the position from the thumbnail. He pushes f5. He opens up this dark square diagonal, so the bishop can be used to just start attacking, but also you will be able in the future to do some nice rook lifting. Maybe the queen will be able to join the attack, not for the moment, but a very interesting pawn sacrifice. If you ask the computer, the engine will say it's a bad move, don't play it, but some of the greatest attacks ever were, at least -2, -3 evaluation, so that's besides the point. And you do have to capture. You cannot allow e captures, f captures on e6, since the e6 pawn is attacked twice now, and you cannot attack capture with the e pawn because of e6 already. White's position is definitely worth the sacrificed pawn. So after f5, we have g captures on f5. Korobov is not afraid to open up his g file. And now it's time to see what Liang had in store for him. E captures on d6, we have knight captures on d6, and now knight to e2. So what this means is that the bishop can now come to c3 to be used on this beautiful diagonal. So Korobov, now being up material, decides he wants to eliminate as many attackers as possible. Bishop captures on f3, rook captures, and now knight to e5, attacking the rook. And if rook g3, the knight can then just block the check with knight to g6. That was the point. Rook to h3 instead, and now c4, taking care of the light square bishop. You don't want it, just eyeing your king like that, and bishop back to a2. We have c captures on d3, c captures on d3, and bishop to f6. Now black gains control of this diagonal. Bishop to c3, white of course wants to counter that bishop, and just knight to g6, offering a trade of dark square bishops, which would also activate black's queen. But of course Liang isn't interested. We have queen to d2, with the idea of just queen to h6 followed by queen to h7 mate, and you have to be very careful here. You could defend it with f4, but bishop to g5 is more precise. So this is what Korobov does. Queen back to d1, and now knight to e8. The knight is now coming to g7, and from g7 the knight will be able to support the advancement of the pawn to h5, so you will not have to worry about any ideas like queen infiltrating while being supported by the rook. We have knight to d4. Liang's idea is now he wants to get the knight to f3 to kick away the bishop from g5, and then again, reintroduce this threat of queen d2 to h6 to h7 mate. Knight g7 as planned, and knight to f3, pushing the dark square bishop back to f6, and now queen to d2, again with the threat queen h6 to h7 mate. Korobov defends with h5. Now the knight nicely guards the h5 pawn, and now rook to f1. Liang brings another attacker into the game. For the moment, it's not really attacking anything, but there is no way to improve the position further. So rook to e8, now with ideas of maybe advancing the e pawn, but bishop to c4. And here the d3 pawn is protected once more. You are also kind of preventing b5, but not really. Here Korobov finds a very nice tactic. He plays bishop captures on c3, b captures on c3. This strengthens white's center, but it also allows b5. So this is something very useful for black. A captures, and now you cannot capture with the bishop because of queen b6 check, picking up the bishop on b5. So instead, bishop goes back to a2, and now queen to a5, attacking the c3 pawn twice. So what do you do here? It's not all that easy. For example, if you go knight to d4 to try and trade pawns here, black can just go queen b6, pin the knight, and after king h1 just b4, and you will not be able to capture or anything since the knight will be hanging. So after queen to a5, Liang finds another way to continue the attack, but it requires for him to give up more material. He plays bishop to b1. We have queen captures on c3. Korobov earned that pawn, and he's ready to advance his passed b pawn to victory. And now queen to h6. And now, Liang will try whatever he can to create all sorts of threats here. We have rook to c7. Korobov brings another defender to the 7th rank, and now rook to g3. And queen back to f6. So now his idea is I'm just going to push the b pawn to victory. We have d4. Liang creates an outpost on e5 for the knight, also prevents black from pushing e5. We have rook to c3. Now you cannot move the knight to e5 since, you will lose a very important attacker here. So rook to g5, and already you can see that the black queen doesn't really have all that many squares. Yes, the queen can now move to e7 and d8, but that's pretty much it. Those are not very useful squares for defending. So Korobov starts advancing the pawn, just b4. We have knight to e5 by Liang, and notice that you cannot move the knight. If you move the knight, you just lose the queen here. So b3, Korobov continues advancing his pawn. We have rook to d1. Rook to d1, I don't really see what's rook d1. I really doubt it's something. Rook d3, not really. I think it's a waiting move just to see what black will play, as it doesn't really introduce any threats, but then again white is unable to produce any more threats. So here just b2 by Korobov, and now comes if you just wait, rook to c1 is coming. So here we have knight captures on g6, f captures on g6, and now rook captures on g6. So the queen is under attack. You can't move the queen away too far, otherwise you're getting mated. So feel free to pause the video here and try to find the best move for for black, while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finding such a, we could say it's a rook lift, but it's really not, since the rook is already on c3, but still, congratulations on finding it. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's rook to c1. You have to give up the queen for the moment. If you try queen f7, then white just plays rook to g3. He offers a rook trade, and now rook c1 doesn't really work because both the rook and the queen already guard the c1 square. So here you would would kind of let the white off the hook just a little. So instead, rook to c1. This is what Korobov played, and it is the strongest move. So now the point is, if you trade captures, then black has the Zwischenzug, queen captures on g6. Queen captures, just pawn captures on c1 with check, king f2. Now you're gonna go queen b2 check if the king goes back, so you can pick up the bishop with check. And if king g3, you just pick it up, and you are up 2 pieces, of course, completely winning. So after this rook to g6 move, we have rook to c1, which we already played, but now rook captures on f6. So this is what Liang went for. But now rook captures on d1 with check, king f2, and the rook captures on b1. So for the moment, Liang is up a queen, but the threat is rook f1 check, followed by just promoting to a queen after the king captures, and black will just be up a piece. So here, king g3, preventing rook f1 check, but now rook to c1. Again, the threat is just pawn to b1 check, and it was in this position on move 43 that Awonder Liang resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Just to demonstrate, if rook g6 threatening mate, just rook to e7. There's no more moves here. You could continue it. Let's say you try something like queen g5, you attack the rook, but then black has a very nice tactic. Just b1 queen, and after you pick up the rook, then f4 check is deadly. Not only can you win the rook, but you don't even need to win the rook. If king captures on f4, you're gonna go queen f5 check, king to e3, and now the white king is in the mating net. King d2, you're gonna go queen d3 check, king e1, queen e3 check, and now wherever you go, it's just mate after rook to c1. Pointless to continue, which of course Liang knows, and after this rook to c1 move, he resigned the game. Korobov continued. Here we have, I prepared it in the standings. There you have it. Let me just improve that a little bit. These are Korobov's opponents, as you can see. He won the tournament without a single loss, so that's 7 wins and 3 draws. So incredibly impressive. And as you can see, he started with 6 out of 6. Then after 6 out of 6, a draw with Vasily Ivanchuk and Vasif Durabaili. Then a victory in round 9 against Awonder Liang. And then in last round, he drew against the German Grandmaster Andreas Heimann. And that was enough to claim first place with 8.5 points. The only player with 8.5 points, with other players 8. And, I think Chucky in the end finished with 7 points. But yeah, incredibly impressive, and once again, Korobov shows his class and shows that he can basically win any tournament in any time format against anyone. So very interested to see what new surprises Korobov has in store for us. I would like to thank Kurov Chess Club for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate that. And also, I received a book today. Sorry, here it is. It's called Zugzwang. I received it from a subscriber, from Mr. Veselinovic. It says Zugzwang the way you would pronounce it in Croatian, so I don't know why that is. I'm gonna find out when I read the book. It's about, basically, as he mentioned in his letter, it's about the 1914 tournament in St. Petersburg that we've already covered on this channel, featuring Capablanca, Lasker, Rubinstein, and the whole gang. But it's not really about that. Like, it's more of a fiction. Like, some players are who they are in real life and some aren't. I'm gonna go through the book, and I'm really looking forward to it. So thank you for that, Mr. Veselinovic. I'm really going to enjoy this one. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, I do hope you enjoyed it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here, and that's it. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.